In the unlikely event of an emergency, two exits have been provided for your use. A stairway that you can access from the lift lobby just before you enter the event center. Another emergency exit is located right behind the stage's backdrop. The door can be opened by pushing the handle. Please do not use the elevators during an emergency. Rather, locate the nearest exit from where you are sitting in a calm and orderly fashion. Emergency responders will also be available to provide additional instructions as required. Please switch off your cell phones or activate the silent function so we don't interrupt the proceedings here today. Once again, welcome, and do enjoy your stay at the Nigerian Exchange Group.
All right, thank you very much for that. The Nigerian Exchange has put together these facts behind, what they call facts behind the figures, and whether you're doing a rights offer or whatever you're doing, is a platform that the Exchange has put together over the years to ensure that there's transparency and there's investor confidence in the operations of the companies that are issuers and other participants in the market. So tonight, this afternoon, we have the Access Holdings PLC making a briefing of its rights offer. So this gives you access to that 17.77 billion. And I want to say a very warm welcome to the chairman, the group chairman of the Nigerian Exchange Group, Alhaji Dr. Umaru Kwaranga. Let's give him a round of applause. Let me also welcome one of our hosts, the chairman of the Nigerian Exchange Limited, Mr. Hansu Nugbe, the group managing director and CEO of the Nigerian Exchange, Mr. Temi Popola. On behalf of Access Holdings PLC, please warmly welcome to our Ms. Aiboje Aig Ibokwede. Also within the big Access family is the acting managing director of Access Holdings PLC, Mrs. Bolaji Abgede. Thank you very much for coming. And also doing a briefing with us this afternoon is the managing director of Access Bank PLC itself, Mr. Roosevelt Ogbonna. And the group chief financial officer of Access Holdings PLC, Mrs. Murunke Olufemi. Madam, thank you very much for coming. Now, you have the midwife to this, the lead midwife to this offer is the lead issuing house, Mr. Bolaji Balogun, representing Chapel Hill Denham, the group CEO. And the doyen for today is Mr. Sam Ndata. Please give him a round of applause to one of the gentlemen of the city. In order to move very speedily with time, I will quickly invite Dr. Umaru Kwaranga, the chairman of the Nigerian Exchange Group, to deliver his welcome address. Please give him a round of applause, please.
Thank you very much, Bosun. And I will use the Nigerian tactics to say that let me start on the existing protocol. But the faces I've seen today here are overwhelmed that we are in for a good things. And with the caliber of the team from Access Bank, I think is something that is worth listening. And at the end of the day, I believe this success of this offer to be oversubscribed is a done deal. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome the board and management of Access Holdings PLC to the Nigerian Exchange for its facts behind the rights of our presentation. Access Holdings PLC and Access Bank Limited, the entity that started it all, are what I would refer to as a phenomenon, conceived by phenomenal Nigerians. The bank was incorporated in 1989 and began operation shortly after, but it really took off when the two brightest, courageous, and forward-looking men that I have ever met, Aiboje Aig Imokode and Letaba Wige, took over the bank in 2002. In just 2 decades, they transformed that run-of-the-mill struggling bank into the biggest financial services institution in Nigeria and one of the biggest in the African continent. It is no mean feat. It is one that has been achieved through seeing no ambition as being too big focusing on first-class human resources, processes, and services, and ensuring consistency in such a large conglomerate from top to bottom. Access Holdings, I believe, is a future case study for the best business schools in the world on how to build a world-class giant in a very short period and keep it growing. The group is led by no only other person than my life brother, who is one of our own, one of the past presidents of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, President NGS. That's with his support and the rest, I stand here in front of you, and I'm always proud to be associated with him. He's here to present the facts behind the offer that is bringing to the market. Ordinarily, I will say that Access Holdings PLC does not have to broadcast why its offer is a good buy, given the ample rewards that astute investors who invested in these earlier offers have enjoyed over the years in form of regular dividends and capital appreciation. And I believe Chief Nwosu and other people that are seated here today will confirm that to us. But this is a company whose board and management are systematic in all that they do, and so they are not just relying on their history to market this offer. They are here to show through facts and figures that the future is even brighter for the group. And the wise shareholders who decide to invest in that current offer, congratulations in advance. On our part as an exchange, we are committed to doing all that is necessary to ensure that both issuers like Access Holdings PLC, both wholesale and retail shareholders have a seamless and efficient interface during this recapitalization period. That is why we established eRails, our digital primary market platform, which connects shareholders who wish to subscribe to offers such as Access Holdings on their phones and other digital services from the comfort of their homes. Shareholders can securely subscribe to these offers from the comfort of their offices and homes and receive acknowledgement immediately. Within 2 minutes, if you subscribe through our XRail, you are going to get your confirmation. And I'm giving you my words, and you go and try that, and you prove me right. We believe this platform will enhance investors' experience and ensure greater participation in this offer. Let me conclude these brief welcome remarks by asking that we take 1 minute to please stand and remember late Dr. Herbert Wigge, one of the visionaries behind Access Holdings who sadly passed on recently. May his gentle soul rest in perfect peace. Amen. I would like us to please continue standing and applaud the other visionary leader, my life brother, Agboje Aigimokode, who is here in our midst today as the chairman of Access Holdings PLC. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You may be seated, please. In conclusion, let me once more welcome you and thank you all for coming to NGX. I will now leave the floor for the real thing that brought us today. But before doing that, I will invite some of our colleagues based on the agenda to say a word or two, then we can hear from the horse's mouth. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Umaru Karanga, the Chairman, Nigerian Exchange Group, PLC. Of course, the briefing being done today by Access Bank, led by the Chairman, Agboje Aigimokode, with the rest of his team, both on this side of the hall and others who are executive directors and other members of the team, will be made to a market that is very rich and stands on so many pillars. So permit me to just spend about 1 minute to quickly recognize the CEO of the CSCS PLC, Mr. Haruna Jallo Waziri. Thank you very much. The CSCS is very critical, ensuring that the market process runs very well. Mrs. Ojinika Olagere, who is the director of NGS Group as well. These are men and women who will be part of the market ecosystem. Mrs. Mosun Bello Olushoga, director of NGS Group. Madam, thank you very much for being here. Azubike Opalaoka, the director at the NGX. Thank you very much. Part of the team. Mr. Sam Onukwe, the president of the Association of Stockbrokers Houses Association Nigeria, Ashon. Is on his way. Thank you very much. The president, Mr. Oluropo Dada, who is the president and chairman of Council of CIS. I guess it's also good to be here. We have past presidents of the CIS also here. Thank you very much. Mr. Farouk Oreagba, who is the CEO of NGX Clearing. Farouk, thank you very much for providing those services that the market really needs. Tony Ibeziako, head of the primary markets at NGX. Thank you. Being part of the machinery that makes the system work. Mr. Balola Abimbola, the head of trading and products at NGX. Let me also say a very big welcome, as mentioned by Mr. Dr. Umaru Kwaranga, the Arduyan in the market, and the presidents of the various shareholders associations that are here present. Thank you very much from across Nigeria. You've been here. Thank you very much, Mr. Boniface Okeze, Sasani Wusu, and the rest of you. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We would like to hear from you during this presentation. We want to make haste with time, as I said earlier, so please, we'll all put our hands together for Mr. Aigboje Ike Imokwede, the chairman of Access Holdings PLC, to deliver the special remarks, and after that, oh, sorry? Oh, yes, the chairman of NGX. Sorry, sorry. Please, let's have the chairman of the NGX, that's Nigerian Exchange Limited, Mr. Hansi Unuigwe, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. You know, when he started trying to introduce Aigboje Ike Imokwede, I just thought that perhaps we should just let it happen, because everyone is clearly eager to hear from the mogul. So when people like myself have to go before him, then it makes my job more difficult. And then have to go before him and after my group chairman, whose voice compared to mine, I mean, you can see I'm struggling. But I'll learn to shout, you know, sometime before the end of the year. It is my great pleasure and honor to have the board and management of Access Holdings here with us today for their facts behind the right presentation. Today, Access Holdings PLC leverages this platform to communicate their strategic plans for capital raise of their 17.7 billion ordinary shares of 50 kobo each, on the basis of 1 new ordinary share for every 2 existing shares held at an issue price of 19 naira 75 kobo per share by way of a rights issue. Today's session is pivotal, particularly as we remember the profound legacy of Herbert Wigwe, the fearless one, whose visionary leadership, alongside his fellow founder, Aigboje Ike Imokwede, has shaped not just Access Holdings, but inspired many, including myself. Their audacity and commitment to excellence has laid a foundation that continues to influence and drive our ambitions, both within and beyond the financial sector. The journey of Access Holdings is nothing short of remarkable. Founded as a modest enterprise, we have seen Access Bank transformed from a fledgling bank in 2002, when they acquired it, into a behemoth under the visionary leadership of its founders. Ike and Herbert's impact continues to inspire aspiring entrepreneurs and established leaders alike, emphasizing the audacity and strategic acumen necessary to achieve greatness in any field. Like I said, people like myself would not have dared to start our own businesses from scratch in our 30s if we hadn't seen people in their early 30s, late 20s do the same thing. And glory to the Lord, we're also making progress in that regard. Despite prevailing economic headwinds, the Nigerian Exchange Limited recognizes the concerted efforts of the board and management of Access Holdings in enhancing the capital adequacy ratio of its flagship subsidiary, Access Bank, ensuring an adequate capital buffer that complies with Basel III, provides a strong foundation to withstand economic shocks, to ensure business continuity and to promote investors' confidence. The evolution of Access Bank to Access Holdings is a narrative of visionary leadership and strategic growth. When the bank was acquired just over 20 years ago, the mandate was clear: to grow the bank from its position at the end of a long list of banks, then over 70, to the top 10 within 5 years. The leaders of Access Bank have achieved nothing short of this with remarkable transformation to have one of the biggest footprints in the financial sector in Africa today, starting with only a handful of branches in Nigeria at the time, to presence in 15 African countries today, including Angola, Botswana, Cameroon, the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Kenya, Mozambique, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, South Africa, and Zambia, to mention a few. You think I was done. in addition to the UK, France, and the UAE. The bank has consistently expanded its reach and capabilities through a series of well-executed mergers and acquisitions to now serve some 60 million customers, which continues to grow. The transition of Access Holdings in 2020-22 marked a pivotal moment in this growth story. The strategic restructuring positioned the company to capitalize on opportunities beyond traditional banking, venturing into complementary financial services sectors. One such example is the niche it has carved for itself in the technology space, with several hundred tech investments annually. One of them is the payment service provider Hydrogen, which has processed over 11 trillion naira worth of payments in 2023 alone. The growing confidence by the market in the Access brand shows in the financial performance of the group, which reported a year-on-year increase in pre-tax profits of 335% to 729 billion naira in 2023, and an 87% growth in gross earnings to 2.59 trillion, as well as strong shareholder returns with a 1 naira 80 kobo dividend for 2023, which is a 28% increase from the preceding year. The details of this significant offer must also be situated, however, within the broader framework of Nigeria's evolving financial landscape, with the recent recapitalization by the Central Bank of Nigeria, which is aimed at bolstering the resilience and stability of our financial institutions in order to support the much-needed growth trajectory of our dear Nigerian economy. In supporting banks through this pivotal time, we at NGX pride ourselves in our ability to offer a secure and efficient platform for capital formation and liquidity in their capital raising efforts to meet these regulatory requirements and sustain growth. This year, NGX has facilitated needed financing of over 5.7 trillion naira in capital raised by governments and corporates across various asset classes. This is a testament to our commitment to driving sustainable products and responsible investment in a market that is orderly and transparent. Leveraging cutting-edge technology, we believe that it is our responsibility to strategically position ourselves to support the growth of our stakeholders. The Nigerian capital market has also demonstrated remarkable resilience, with impressive performance indicators underscoring its strength and sustainability, all despite domestic and global economic uncertainties. In 2023, the Nigerian capital market achieved unprecedented performance, with the all-share index reaching record highs of over 74,000 basis points for the first time since the inception of the exchange. The market also soared to a 39.84% year-to-date return in the first quarter of 2024, distinguishing this exchange as one of the best performing exchanges in the world. I think we should get a round of applause for that. This robust performance underscores the strength and potential of our market. It is within this dynamic environment that I urge Access Holdings, and indeed all issuers, to continue leveraging the myriad benefits of listing on the NGX, which include enhanced access to capital, an elevated global profile, improved liquidity, all of which are crucial for sustainable growth and competitiveness in today's financial landscape. NGX remains committed to providing an efficient and transparent platform that supports the strategic objectives of our listed companies. The rights issue being presented today is a prime example of how businesses can utilize our markets to achieve their financial goals and strengthen their market position. I would like to end by commending once again the leadership of Access Holdings PLC for their bold and visionary leadership, their contribution to the Nigerian financial sector, the larger African banking sector, and indeed our global community for their continued pursuit of excellence. I look forward to today's engagement being insightful and productive, fostering transparency and encouraging robust participation in your rights issue. I encourage all present here to engage actively in this session, as it represents an important opportunity for Access Holdings to communicate directly with the market. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to these discussions and an illuminating, promising future for Access Holdings. Thank you.
Thank you. Well delivered on behalf of NGX and the visiting listed issuer. That's Access Holdings PLC. Thank you, Mr. Ahosi Onebe. Let me also just sneak in one of the other pillars on which the Nigerian Exchange stands is the NGX regulation. Please welcome Mr. Femi Shobanjo, the CEO. Shobanjo, thank you very much for I missed your face there earlier. And Gabriel Igbeka, the acting CEO of the NGX Real Estate. Mr. Igbeka. Thank you very much. Let me say a very big thank you also for coming to this briefing, the former chairman of Coronation Merchant Bank, who's an non-executive director at Access, Mr. Abubakar Jimoh. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Now we've got to listen to the man I've listened to in the market for my entire career as a business journalist. Sometimes so difficult to find to interview, because he has so much to say. He's a man of many parts, but today he's standing here representing one of the largest and the strongest financial institution within the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And not only in Nigeria, but also across the African continent. Please welcome Mr. Aigboje Ike Imokwede, simply Ike.
Thank you, Bootson. I don't know where to start. I've been trying to remember when we bought these chairs. The chairman, the NGX Group, the chair of the exchange itself, the group CEO of the NGX Group, other directors and principal officers who are here, esteemed shareholders of Access Holdings, respected partners, eminent personalities of the media who have been so kind to Access Holdings and our ecosystem over the years, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. So you will permit me, even though it sounds corny, that I get nostalgic when I stand on this podium, but it's very true. It's a podium that I've been privileged to stand in front of on several occasions. In fact, actually, let me tell you something. At the time that I first presented in this room, there was no podium. We just used to stand here. I don't know if you guys remember. But despite the many opportunities to stand like this, I've always remained very humble when I do so. For two reasons. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, now the NGX Group, represents in many ways things that do not stand very, very obvious in our country today. The men and women who established this exchange, it's supporting institutions, and it's not a coincidence that the central bank is just next door. They built this country. They financed the roads and bridges. The institutions that you see around, including that we are coming to the market to sell its shares, Access Holdings, are as a result of their efforts, and I applaud them. And I find it a great privilege that this market chose Access Bank and now Access Holdings as its darling. Even in 2002, when we had very little, I always joke that our foreign currency balances at the time were less than Aliko Dangote's credit card limit. I recall vividly our first presentation as Access Bank in this room. And then my brother and partner, Herbert Wigwe, was alongside me. Today, 22 years, we are presenting as a team, missing one of us, one of the musketeers. But I want to thank you as a market for standing beside and behind us when we buried a titan of African finance. I want to thank you for your visits. I want to thank you for your love. I want to thank you for your support. Today we have convened this Access Holdings Facts Behind the Rights event. And I think it's a very significant milestone in the Access Holdings rights issue process. It is an event that is being hosted and facilitated by the Nigerian Exchange. And for 25 years, and I say 25 years, even though remember that we joined the Access Bank family in 2002, so 22 years ago. Access Bank was listed on the stock market in 1998 or thereabouts. And without actually the platform of this market, we would not have had the opportunity to enter. Don't ask me today how, but you know. And so it tells you that the NGX enables entrepreneurs, dreamers, visionaries, and for those who have turned them into institutions, to connect with shareholders, people who will invest in them, who will bet on them, based on their understanding of the strategies of the companies that are listed on the market and the understanding of the performance of those businesses. The NGX, don't take this for granted because I am a part of that process, I'm part of the NGX, has played a role in transforming governance in corporate Nigeria. And that transformation is why when you go to the market and you have a facts behind the figures or facts behind the offer or facts behind the rights, is basically trying to ensure that all issuers don't just tell a story of numbers. They tell the story behind the numbers, which are more important than the numbers itself. So our rights issue is, yes, a financial exercise, but it's actually a continuation of that Access Bank story. If I was given the opportunity to theme our capital market raising exercises, you know what I'll call it? I'll call them promises kept. In 2002, the promise was in 5 years' time, we would go from 70 to 10. I believe the promise was kept. In 2007, the promise was we would go from 10, top 10 to top 5. That ended in 2012. I thank God that as I retired in 2013, we were number 4. I think that's a promise kept. And as I retired, I helped my partner and brother Herbert tell the market what Herbert was shy to say, that in 5 years' time, 2012, add 5 years, no, 2013, right? In 5 years' time, it will be top 3. So 2018, top 3. And so Herbert in 2018 announced that in 5 years' time, it will be top 1. And by 2022, so it was. Promises kept. So, Bolaji and Roosevelt will be talking about promises they intend to keep. And I've worked with them literally all their professional careers. I can assure you that even if, as I was every time I made a promise, and Herbert was every time he made a promise, they're a bit nervous, a bit concerned, as every leader or group of leaders should be. The difference is that they are actually better trained, more capable, more tested than we were when we made our promises. So I can go to sleep on your promises. As you know, we will be offering approximately 17.7 billion shares at a price of 19 naira 75 kobo. Simply put, the rights issue is a precursor to a number of other financings that we'll be doing to support our consolidated expansion process. You may ask the question, when you are the largest bank in Nigeria and one of the largest banks in Africa, where do you go from here? Roosevelt and Bolaji are going to be talking about making history, because our next phase of growth, anyway, that's not my job, it's theirs. But I can tell you that today's ceremony speaks to our collective resolve as boards, that's the board of the holding company, the boards of the subsidiaries, of course, including the banking group, to support this phenomenal set of talent, whether in management or officers on the shop floor, that we've been privileged to govern at Access Bank and Access Holdings. And to give them every support to realize the dream of an African, to prove to the world that in Africa from Africa can be people who will be global leaders. And so our vision is now global. Very, very global. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our financial advisors, our legal counsel, our stockbrokers, our auditors, and registrars, whose expertise and dedication have been instrumental in bringing us to this point. I leave my last comments for our shareholders. We did a rights and a rights alone to signal to the world that that pact between us can never be broken. Since 2002, you have stood with us thick and thin. We could have added all types of things, placing, foreign this and that, but we said, no. The first step will be the step that was taken in 2002 with people like you. And I know that you will come and stand with us again. Please take up your rights and ensure that our promise kept story continues to run and run. God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Aigboje Aigimokwede, the chairman of Access Holdings PLC. I think the presentation and the events is over by now. And simply because I was hearing yes from along all the shareholders. So I'm sure there'll be no Q&A session. That saves me some time, because all my elders and the big men and women have said yes. It's a thank you offer, by the way. So it's just a rights issue. It's a thank you offer from the company to the shareholders. But let's get more granular details of what the numbers look like and how they all pile up for the investors. So I'm inviting Mr. Roosevelt to go, the managing director of Access Bank PLC, to deliver the facts behind the rights issue of Access Holdings PLC.
Good afternoon. I'll stand on very well established protocols. And thank you very much for joining us today in the facts behind the rights. I think before I start, I would like to share what today has evolved to be the corporate philosophy of the holding company. It's important we get context. And I think our vision speaks to what we do, why we do it, and the how we do it. So what's the vision today? is to create a globally connected community and ecosystem inspired by Africa for the world. I mentioned that our view and our vision is now global. If we're ever in doubt as to what that meant, the last few months, last few years, our incursion into new markets, the reception that we received in all of those markets clearly suggests to us that the world is waiting for a true African champion that is playing on the global stage. And that's what we are always going to be. I just share one of our values, and that's curiosity. And the way we think about it is that we never stop questioning. So yes, we'll always be that institution that gets into trouble because we're pushing the boundaries, we're looking for new ways to do things, we're selling Africa to the rest of the world, and that's what guides what we do. There are three principles that embed our view of the world. The first is that we want to be Africa's gateway to the world. The second is that we want to be the world's most respected African bank. And the third, and I think most importantly, anchoring from what Ike says, is that we want to be Africa's, or the world's first truly African global brand in the financial services sector. The question is, what does all of this mean? They sound like buzzwords. Africa's gateway to the world. It's very simple. We want to power trade and payments across the continent. We want to be that platform that connects the African continent to itself and catalyze capital and business. We're very selective in the markets that we're going to, and we're chasing the money. It's not a return on ego. We're focused on where the money is. If you look at the African continent and you were to split it from an economic power perspective and where the real banking profit is, it's in Southern Africa, followed by East Africa, then North Africa, West Africa, then Central Africa. I know that a lot of people think that we make so much money in West Africa. The reality is that with the capital that we have in this part of the world, if we move it to West or to South or East Africa, it will be a lot more profitable. We're following the money. We're in every market in Southern Africa today, ex-Zimbabwe and Lesotho. We're in every market in East Africa today except South Sudan and Ethiopia. And so we're driven by the principles of creating value. And that's been what has powered the institution over the last 2 decades. Our story is one that is very well told. I talked about 2002. I guess Ike is now so successful to forget the reception we received here in 2002. The analyst community actually laughed at us. Because here was a tiny bank, 65 out of 89, and you're sharing with the market that in 5 years you are going to be a top 10 bank. It was difficult for anyone to contemplate what that meant. And let me tell you what made it worse. If we had stopped at just saying top 10, maybe they would have tolerated us. And I think a question was asked to Ike, and which are the banks you benchmark yourself against? And Ike started talking about HSBC, JP Morgan, Citibank. And I think for a lot of people, that came across as being, what's the word now? Ignorant? A pipe dream for most. But I think 20 years on, we validated our talk with the actions and the delivery that we've made. That story would not have been possible without the platform that the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the NGX today has given to us. We have been repeat issuers in this market. We've gotten significant support from our shareholders through thick and thin. Anytime we've come, there'll be apprehensions, as usual. Will the market take it? Will our shareholders support us? I mean, a lot of those doubts are evaporated at the EGMs or AGMs where we go and seek approval. We get support, significant support from our shareholders. overwhelming support, pushing us and driving us to go, letting us know that they are fully, fully behind us. This time was no different. So thank you, our shareholders, who continue to support us in that quest. I know that the conversation is not just to be about romantic words. I also have to share numbers. Today, we're the largest bank in our market by a mile. Today, we're one of the top 10 banks in the African continent. Today, we're the largest bank in Africa from a retail customer base. And I think that deserves a round of applause. We have what is 60 million customers. And as we like to say internally, we have a nation. If Access Bank was a country, we'll be one of the largest 10 countries in the African continent. A lot of the successes that we've had as an institution has been built on strong governance. We have a very strong board at the holding company level, led by Mr. Aigboje Aige-Mokwede. We have very seasoned board members who have guided the narrative and the engagement between the institution and its large stakeholder group. I think one thing we don't get enough credit for is how much resilience we have built in our business. There's a lot of talk around financial capital, but for the kind of business we do, what truly powers the financial capital to make it work is the human capital that we've invested so much in from 2002 to date. We have a very strong and robust bench strength. If you're in doubt, let's just go through some memory lane. Ike and Herbert ran the bank from 2002 until Ike left in 2013. I remember there was a lot of conversation in the market at the time, how would Herbert survive without his partner in the bank? And how would the bank thrive without the partnership of the duo, as they were called at the time? Interestingly, Ike left and truly provided only prayers to the rest of the institution. He allowed Herbert run his team. Ike left with his entire executive team. We started pretty much with Herbert and a new team running the institution. At the time Ike left, as he said, we were number 5, and that seemed like a lot had happened. Herbert, with his new team, took the bank from number 5 to number 1. It's not usual that you have in a market that partnerships work, in a market that you can see transitions, and when they happen, that success continues. Ike's greatest joy, as he shares on many platforms, is to see that after he left the institution, well, in a management capacity, I must say, that the institution has continued to thrive. The new team, no pressure, Bolaji. I don't know if we have a partnership, but yes. But there's a new team, and that team remains committed to the vision, that overpowering vision that really drives what we do at Access. It's beyond making money. That's not the story about Access Bank. It's about impact. And I think that drive for impact then means that we do what we need to do to build the muscle and the financial capital and platform to enable us make the impact on a much larger scale. Our business is built on 3 pillars: people, planet, profit. We remain a very responsible bank. We ensure that from a people perspective, we're making an impact in the markets and the communities that we serve. We are not here for the short term. Like every business and every financial institution, we live our lives in quarters. It just so happens that in our view, a quarter is 25 years. So we're here for the long term. It's not about making money in the short term. It's not about showing fantastic results as a result of foreign exchange gains. We ensure we build real value. We ensure that the business that we do serves the markets and communities that we operate in. We are the largest lender in the market, largest deposit taker. And I think the conversation would have been a bit narrow if it was just in Nigeria. Across the 14 markets we operate in the continent, 10 of them were either number one, we're top 5 in 10 of them. In the other 4 or 5, ex-South Africa, by 2027 will be a top 5 bank. So in some sense, we are not local champions. We're the 3rd largest bank in Zambia. Fact. Post the closing of our Standard Chartered transaction, we'll be the 3rd largest bank in Sierra Leone, 3rd largest bank in the Gambia, where today, post our transaction in Kenya, will be the largest tier 2 bank at about number 14, 12 or 14. In Botswana, we're number 5. In Mozambique, we're number 6. And in each of these markets, we are a local competitor. The numbers from last year suggest that we continue to be the largest bank in our markets. To be honest, and I'm not sure if I should share this, we don't wake up every day as a management team and the first thing we think about is how we beat a Nigerian bank. That really is not what drives us anymore. It's about the impact we can make in the continent and how can we, through the many networks that we're building, help catalyze growth, make the right impact on the continent, and of course, return significant profits to our shareholders. Today, we're the largest deposit-taking bank in our market. As at end of December of 2023, we had what's about 15.3 trillion. Largest lender in our market with about 8.9 trillion. Largest total asset with about 27 trillion. As at Q1, for anyone who's bothered to look at our reports, we grew 32% between Q1 and December last year and closed at about 32.5 trillion. The institution's sustainable growth rate is north of 30. We are the fastest growing bank in the continent. Fact. Over the course of the last 10 years, and this is what we've shared in all our analyst reviews, we have been in an investment mode. And what does that entail? It's meant that we've gone to new markets, we made investment in scale, infrastructure, technology, waiting for the day that the payoff will happen. I think where we are today is that we're transiting from that investment mode to a consolidation mode. From a shareholder perspective, what does that mean? Now, maybe take one step back. You know, in business school, you are told that any business that doesn't have positive NPV projects, that it should return the money to shareholders. So whilst we celebrate those who pay big dividends, understand the signal that means. It means they have 0 positive NPV projects. We've been in an investment mode and we have clearly made the bets that we want across the continent. Today we're the largest African bank in the UK. Our UK business, our UK and our international business have had many firsts. First African bank going to Malta. And that is meant to support our trade business across the world. In Malta, we'll have a booking office for trade. Now, you know, when you are growing up in banking, you hear that Citibank has a booking office in Ireland. Deutsche Bank has a booking office somewhere. Commerzbank has a booking office in London. Those are the kind of conversations we have today. So we will have our own booking office for trade in Malta. Access UK is also the first African bank in Hong Kong. It took us 4 years. It took us 4 years through COVID, Hong Kong riots, but we got there in the end. So today, our international business means that we can clear ourselves in GBP across any platform, both cash and instruments. Our Paris and Malta business means for euros, we can clear ourselves, both cash and instruments. I guess the big elephant in the room is, what about USD? Because dollar is still the most convertible currency and trade is done mostly in dollars. I don't need to say much, but you have to know that Access US is coming. We've been fortunate under Herbert's leadership to evolve from what was a narrow banking license into a holding company structure. A lot of people are always curious as to what is it that the holding company does, and how is it not possible that you could embed all of this within the financial services business that you have grown. The holding company gives us significant optionalities. It means that we can compete in markets that are not traditionally financed, and that we can get into partnerships that can create significant value for the ecosystems and the platforms that we create. So today, beyond banking, we have Access Pension, which is the second largest pension administrator in our market. We have our payment and our fintech business, which has its own switch, has a card management processing system. For the scale of the retail enterprise that we're building, we cannot take chances by leaving that in the hands of third parties. But I think what's most important is that that business has grown so significantly that today it doesn't only just bank access, but does so for 7 or 8 Nigerian banks where it provides services. Access Hydrogen, as we refer to it, is one of the largest switching companies in the Nigerian financial services system today. And it hasn't really started. So you can imagine as it matures with the investment capital and the strategy direction that the board is driving hydrogen with, what exactly it is that that business will do in the next few years. We have a consumer lending business, continues to grow, small startup, but a huge future. In that business, we're going to build several ecosystems that will operate on the platform. So things like mobility, things around housing ecosystem. I see there's a lot of interest in this, so maybe I shouldn't say too much so people don't. But we're very excited as to what the future holds. The bank will be the core of the financial services holding company that we're building, and the optionality that the verticals under the holding company gives to us is that it means that we can create significant value for the larger stakeholder group. The verticals are starting in Nigeria, but they're going to be rolled out across several markets where we are dominant. So several of these businesses will roll out behind the bank across the African continent, starting with Southern Africa, East Africa, and then, of course, West Africa. As I said, we follow the money. By 2027, we have a huge aspiration for our institution. It's not possible for us to compete on a global scale without having to benchmark ourselves to the very best in the world. A lot of people question, maybe not question, they're inquisitive about why we've pursued an M&A strategy and it's formed the thrust for a lot of the growth that we've seen. I think the story that is not being told is that beyond the M&A, which usually is the headline, there's grunt organic growth that happens underneath all of those works. So I'll give you 2 examples to illustrate this. Access Zambia in 2018 used to do a profit of what is about 400 million naira monthly. We acquired a small bank called Cabmont, integrated the bank. We moved from what's about 400 million in profit monthly to about 1.2 billion in profit monthly. Roll forward a few years after, we acquired another bank in Zambia called Bank ABC. And our budget for this year is no longer in local currency terms. We now reference all our subsidiary investments and returns in USD. Access Zambia in 2024 will do $76 million. So think about it. This is a business 4 years ago or 6 years ago that was doing $400 million in profit. On an annual basis, less than 5 billion. That same business is going to do about 100 billion in profit 6 years after. That has come through from the organic growth and the discipline that we've instilled in the way we run our business. The business model we execute across the continent is a very simple business model. I know it looks complicated because you hear there's Access Ghana, Access this, Access this, but what exactly is it that we do there? It's payments. There's no risk. You just need a platform that works, a network that is transparent, and a connectivity that customers can rely on. There's trade, leveraging Access UK. I'll tell you a secret. with the international banks pulling out of the continent and not operating in several parts of the African continent, Access Bank UK today is one of the largest correspondent banks in Africa. We have the largest correspondent banking business for trade in Nigeria today as we speak. So every Nigerian bank you see has a correspondent banking relationship with Access UK except one. I'll leave you to guess who that one is. The idea ultimately is that when we support trade, payments, we drive what we refer to as our one bank names, the global names, for which there are about 400 in the continent, we will be able to catalyze growth. That business or that strategy is one that has been waiting for someone with the discipline to be able to do it. The challenge has always been, for you to execute the strategy, you have to be significant, firstly, in your home market, and then you have to be significant in every market that you play in. In Access Bank, we don't manage fear. We manage risk. And we've shown that we're very good at managing risk. Risk from our core operations, risk from integration and acquisition and the M&A strategy that we pursue. I know there are many banks who would like to be like us, even if they don't admit it publicly. We've demonstrated that we know what it takes to grow scale and do it efficiently. And do it in a manner that shareholder value is retained and that ultimately it is accretive. We have finished, or we're near finishing, the phase of investment and growth. As I said, we are entering from first quarter, second quarter of 2025. We are now consolidating for the future. For shareholders, it just means that since we don't have too many NPV projects left, that there'll be more dividend payment or payout to our shareholders. I think we've taken our time to bake the pie. Where we are now is time to eat the pie. By 2027, we will have a customer base of 125 million. We say we've defined active customers as those who transact with us daily. And the ambition we're pushing is that 50 million of our customers will transact with us daily on all our platforms. Now, they don't necessarily have to do banking business. They just have to do it on one of our ecosystem partners and the platform that we're creating. 1 in 3 transactions in the continent will be done on an access-related platform or a platform that we've gone into partnership with counterparties. About 2 months ago, you'd have heard of our partnership with M-Pesa. We're not ashamed to learn, and we're not ashamed to learn from people who have done it well. So in markets like Kenya, we're working with M-Pesa to understand what they do, but I think given the scale that we've built beyond East Africa, we will grow across the continent together. You would have seen about 4 or 5 weeks ago, we got into a partnership with MasterCard. And what that partnership does for us today is that we can innovate and build on the MasterCard platform anywhere in the world to support payments. And we're about to close the same thing with Amex. So from a payment perspective, we want to build the railroad across the continent so that anyone who looks at the continent and wants to do business here sees us as that preferred partner to work with. Capital adequacy, because we're a regulated institution, will remain north of 20, ROE north of 20, and ultimately the very elusive number 1 in KPMG service rating we hope to conquer by 2027. I think ours is a value story, but it's also a growth story. I said that we're the fastest growing bank in the continent. But we're also not an unknown entity. We're not an unknown quantity. So usually fastest growing will be a growth story from a small bank or a small institution that is just coming to the market. And of course, they're on their growth trajectory until they play to and get mature and who knows what happens. But we're also a value story, given where our shares are trading today. We know the market might not be a perfect market. Many markets are not, if there's any at all. But one thing we don't lie to ourselves is that we know the market processes information. And the information the market has been processing for the last 10 years is one around growth. Now, with growth and investment comes uncertainty. And of course, the market will mark you down each time there's an M&A transaction that you do. So it's no surprise, as you learned in business school, that if an announcement is made of an M&A deal, the target company's shares appreciate. The company that is the acquirer, their shares face a bit of a dip. Now imagine when you're doing that every year. So we've not given the market enough time to fully appreciate the work that we're doing. Going forward into the future, our conversation with our shareholders and the rest of the market will be to show you the pillars that we have built. There's the bank, but that's not even the story, because embedded in the bank is our international business that will compete with the likes of Odo Bank. Because what we do is no different from what Odo Bank does in Germany. And you can look at the valuation and capitalization of Odo Bank and how their shareholders view Odo Bank. Now, well, maybe I should leave that. Odo Bank is a bank that we want to go into partnership with, and we see what they do, and we understand that it's no different from what we do. There's the African business, anchored out of Ghana. 15 subsidiaries today. By the end of the year, post the closure of all the Standard Chartered transactions we're doing, it will be about 19 subsidiaries in the African continent. That in itself is a standalone business with its own valuation. And of course, the Nigerian mother bank, which is Access PLC, which in itself is a strong bank and competing effectively in the market. So beyond the banking group is hydrogen. And we know what the fintech valuations are. Even those that are not profitable are trading at 10x, 11x. This is a profitable business from day one with 60 million potential customers to play with. There's our consumer lending business. There's our pension business. For some FIs, the pension business is actually the powerhouse. And we're the second largest pension business in the market today. It's not being valued anywhere in the share price that you see on the exchange. So we need to let our shareholders breathe. And what that will entail is our consolidation phase that we talked about. As I close, I'd like to share some compelling reasons why the Access story remains one that shareholders should embrace, as you've done for the last 20 plus years. The institution has delivered on every commitment that we have made from 2002 till date. I remember the first time we had that conversation, and I got encouraged us to come to the floor of the exchange to share what our 5-year strategy was. And the question was, why don't we keep quiet first now? Let's do it. Then we'll come back and say we've done it. The challenge with that was that when you do come back, the question was that who did you tell that this was what you were going to do? In that case, every result will be a great result because there's nobody to hold you to account. So we've lived our lives in the public, in the eye of the investing public, and we've come each time we have a 5-year strategy to share it with the market from a corporate governance perspective so that the market and our stakeholders can hold us to account. We have delivered on every promise that we have made. It's interesting that we seem to forget a bit of history. This was one of Herbert's favorite saying. There is no Nigerian bank that was our size in 2002 that is still alive today. None. None. So some of the banks that analysts now compare us with, whether you say we're now top 2 or top 3 or top 5, and you couldn't mention Access next to those banks in 2002. It will be almost an insult to those institutions. Today we're bigger than any one of those institutions because we've delivered on the promises we have stated. I think more importantly is the governance conversation. This is not an Ige story. It's not a Roosevelt story. It's not a Herbert story. It's an Access story with a vision that powers everything we do. I remind you how we started. I stated that our vision is to create a globally connected community and ecosystem inspired by Africa for the rest of the world. And that's what we are creating. Thank you very much.
Give it to Roosevelt. The only promise that I would want you to make is that when the coming to America happens, perhaps we'll have an annual meetings in America for Access Bank. But that was a great movie, Coming to America. And it will be great to have Access Bank at the capital of the free world. Thank you very much for that very incisive briefing. I love the narrative and I love the heart of it. And you were preaching to the choir, which was me, because I am Pan-African in what I do on a daily basis. And I'm sure your story also resonates with the shareholders and investors who are here, because they want to have a share of where the world is looking at right now, and that's the African continent. Let's go to Q&A session. And I would prefer if the questions are directed to either the chairman, the managing director of Access Bank, or the group financial officer, the GCFO. And we'll take it in very quick succession so that we save time. I'm not expecting any questions, just some remarks. And if, here we go. Let ladies go first. We'll just take 3 questions, and then, please let the lady have the, if you don't mind. Yes.
All protocol duly observed. My name is Mrs. Bakari Adebisi, a shareholder. Of course, as a shareholder, I believe that Access Holdings decision to execute right offer is well timed, and we appreciate Access Holdings for that. And of course, I have a lot of questions before, but listening to my able MD of the bank, all my questions has been already answered by him.
Take a bow, Roosevelt. Take a bow. Madam, thank you very much.
Because that was a very good presentation. And again, looking at Access Holdings, even without you saying it, even we shareholders were aware that Access Holdings, from Access Bank to Access Holdings, is a company of fulfilling promises. You have been telling us that, like you said, as young as I am, I'm just 18 years. We have been following you. You told us in 2022 that in 5 years you'll be here, and you are there. And secondly, I could remember vividly, in those days, if Access Bank check was given to you, you have to sleep and look at where you can get Access Bank branch, because even in the whole island or mainland, maybe you will see only one Access Bank branch. But today, anywhere you go, you are like MTN. Yes, I'm very serious about it. The second name of Access Bank's Access Holdings is supposed to be MTN, because anywhere you go, you find them. Having said that, I just want to ask one question. And the question is, as of today, our share price is 19 naira 30 something kobo, 35 kobo. And this offer is 19 naira 75 kobo. Why is this so? We would like to know. Before I will drop the microphone also, I just want to tell you that as a shareholders of the year for 2 consecutive years, Mrs. Bakare is the shareholder of the year for 2 consecutive years. I want to give Access Holding assurance, even despite the share price or whatever, that we are going to take our rights. I'm giving you the assurance. Because for you to come out with 17.77 billion ordinary share for just right issue, that means you rely on us, and we are going to give you the assurance, and we are going to take our offer. Once again, thank you very much for the opportunity given to me.
Chet, I would have been surprised if you didn't mention the price. You know what I mean. But all those things you talked about happened 18 years ago, and you're just 18. Okay, now you get it. Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Directors here present, our friend, our caterpillar, Ike, who we always call AIG by then. Anywhere we saw him, we have confidence in our investment. I am with Ike. He's still AIG. I am with Ike for the past 23 years now. My name is Kabiru Abdullahi Tambari, shareholder from Sokoto State. I just want to start with my sister where she mentioned the share price for Access today. The shares today closed 19 naira 35 kobo. It lost 25 kobo. And I can't go for question. I have confidence for Access. I started buying shares of Access at 65 kobo. And that time, now when Access took over Diamond, Access is not only with Diamond, also together with former Lion Bank in Plateau State. Because I remember Diamond Bank acquired Lion Bank. So almost everywhere is Access Bank. What I just want to call the attention of my colleague and the investors, although I am in the investment house, is about the shares. We investors, what we just need is, 1, capital appreciation. Any person invested his money, direct or indirect, he needs capital appreciation and dividend. And Access is always paying us dividend up to the time started paying interim dividend. And our shares as at January 18, 2024 this year, Access Bank shares, January 18, yes, correct, 13, it touched 13 naira 70 kobo. I have the record. I'm always watching Access. So that's why, by God willing, I have confidence. This right issue of 19 naira 75 kobo is like bonus price to us. It's part of capital appreciation. By God willing, what we will just do now, we can be patient. As how you mentioned earlier, the MD, it's not a quick investment that we will just invest now. We are looking for capital appreciation and dividend. We have to be patient. Not only Access Bank, any investment needs patience. Because without patience, we can't be here where we are now. In my life, kobo price of shares touch up to 13. So how about, sorry, may his soul rest in perfect peace. Ike, you are Ike now, you are Herbert. We know you together. I'm with Ike, I'm with Herbert even some time before he demise. He went to my state. We are together as a friend always. He called me, I don't know even he is in town, he just quickly come. That's what I even saying, even the time he demised. Even this morning, I talked with the company secretary about this issue. So we don't have anything to say. No one can question God. May his soul rise in perfect peace. Herbert has confidence in this bank. He take this bank to go greater high, and we still reaping his sweating time. He's always moving around to see where access move. But no one can question God. May his soul rest in perfect peace. By God willing, we are going to take our rights. What I just want to call my friend, our chairman, Ike, we don't want, now, no share certificate. So the moment allotment is out, the shares will be credited to the CSCS. We don't want the shares to be floating on the floor. Then our shares will start crashing. That is what I just want to call the attention. After the right issue, when they announce the allotment, the shares credited to the respective shareholders, then we can start seeing our shares coming down. For this price of today, 19 naira 35 kobo, I won't mind with it, because that is how market is. Market is always moving up, coming down. So by God willing, we are going to succeed. This 30 naira, I pray God Almighty, before end of this year or next year, it will pass 40 naira. Thank you, and God bless.
You've made so much money, you bought at 65. Then you sold the stock at 30. Then you have 19. Then you're looking. I like you.
Yeah,
all right,
my
please,
name is
Ms.
Okezie Boniface. I believe strongly, not asking much question, that the Access Bank have all it takes to get a good return to investors who are investing today, because the offer already open. I believe strongly that 19 naira 25 kobo is also a bonanza to existing shareholders. The holding company have taken shareholders along, like what the bank, when we were in the bank. We also approve to transfer into HoldCo company. And the most important thing is corporate governance in institutions, and carrying the stakeholders along in any decision you take. You must carry them along. And that is what's paying out for Access today as a group. No matter you are a retail shareholder, 1 unit, you're a shareholder. You also equal like somebody holding millions or billions shares. All of you are par. There's no difference, no segregation. And that's what's going for these institutions. And everybody that have invested here since its inception have reaped bountifully in terms of returns. But I want to challenge the acting MD of HoldCo, because our dividend now come through the HoldCo. The bank is a subsidiary, but that's the milk cow that are producing the milk to the group. Without the bank, you can't talk about the group. But we have also other branches, not the bank alone. Bank is no more undue pressure now. We have other companies springing up, like Hydrogen, which is a kind of like what you have NIPS today. I don't know why they have not even taken over from NIPS, because that is a platform that delay payment. So Hydrogen should have been taking that space and providing for all the banks today in payment platform seamlessly. That's how it should have been. And FineTech is also a lot of companies are springing up from that group. And I believe strongly that shareholders will reap bountifully in terms of dividend. I want to assure shareholders who have kept faith that when you say assets, sources, and assets have been sources all the way, even since Ike left 11 years ago, and now back as a chairman. And I believe in that trajectory. He piloted affair as a group MD. Then that zeal is still there. That fire is still burning in him. He's not yet tired. He's not idle chairman. He's a man who goes other and there, make sure that the bank still remain on top. Because we can't talk about group and forget about the bank. And Roosevelt have shown that is our gift to the nations from Abia State. We don't play last. We're always there. He have talked all this grammar, but he's talk and do. He's a performer. Don't mind his beard. He's a young man, but you know, I'm older than him. I'm not growing beards, but he's growing beard. That type of work he's doing. So Roosevelt, a love is on your shoulder to deliver to the group so that we can have a bumper dividend to go. Yes.
It's because you have time to shave because you are the one making the money. He's working for you, so he hasn't had time to shave.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so he's working very hard. Thank you. He hasn't had time to shave at all. Thank you. From Abia State.
Yeah. Access group.
Please give Mr. Okezie a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're doing very well.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, Access have a policy.
Okay.
Ratio payout. Because speaking about those banks that pay higher dividend. You paid us 180 this year. And I'm expecting that a lot of investors are talking to me that our interim dividend this year will not be 30 kobo. It must be 50 kobo after this offer. I'm telling you. That's why even more. That's why I'm going to judge you, your performance. A lot of people will take their offer, their right issue. It's oversubscribed, they will take it. But you must start interim dividend. That is a starting tax I'm giving you to deliver to the group, HOCO. If you're exceeding 50 kobo, we'll be happy. And people will know, yes, Access keeping to their words. I'm challenging you, honestly. We're not going to take 30 kobo interim or 40 kobo. We're not going to take it. That's the truth. I know the money will be deployed. The money is because we have invested a lot. Yeah, dividend we are giving to us, because you are making investment and we're seeing it. Those investments are beginning to crystallize. We speak today. You have invested a lot in Africa, in our Asian country. We have branches. This is time to reward investors locally. The shareholders who are seed providers, this is time to pay them handsome dividend. So if you are selling at almost 20 naira, and I believe, like somebody said, by the end of the next year, we will see maybe naira price of these stocks. Yeah.
Please, thank you very much. Please give me a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very quickly, would you want to take of commendations and all that, except from yes, there will be a second round of questions. Take a few more. Okay, one or two more. Okay, Mr. Sonny Wosu, please. Okay. Yes, sorry, Sonny Wosu, please.
Thank you very much. When I heard about, I'm sorry that I'm sitting down. You know, it's because of my challenge. When I heard about these facts behind the figure, I've not been attending other facts behind the figures, but I decided to warm up myself and come to this fact behind the figure because I have my brother there, Ike, who is in control, and I needed to see his face and other directors. So your presentation, the presentation we have watched today speaks for itself. All the presentation speaks for itself. But I want to share with Okezie that the interim dividend that will be paid must be higher and very enticing and make us happier that we are standing by promises. We have had about 8 promises from the direction of the presentation, and we have not been sad about it. Therefore, we must continue to be happy that interim dividend is coming, because I, for one, and others need a lot of money for care, you know. And therefore we need, and another thing is that, you see, this is just about the season that you now, while right issue is going on and the shares is being traded on. In my 52 years in the capital market, what usually happens is that once there's a right, there will be a suspension on the technical suspension. So we are appealing to you that once this right is completed, send out the whole thing and let us be able to take the benefit of the market, because that's why it derails the movement of the shares once you push out everything or when there is no technical suspension. So we want to have our certificate or whatever. CSCS, I'm sure Jallo is here himself. He's very apt, and he will do the needful to make sure that we're entitled to whatever we have paid for. Apart from that, I'm assuring you, and I'm pleading with shareholders here, that we should support Access Bank. If nothing else, in sympathy with the loss of Herbert, we should give that support to them to show that fully that we are paying condolence to Access Bank, because that's a very painful thing that pained all of us. While we were here, we said if Herbert had been alive, he'd be moving here and there to greet everybody here. But however, Ike is taking the position. So therefore, let us be happy that we are participating in this bank. And I want to remember when they first came up, we have a shareholder who said Access Bank, Access success. Although he's not here now, we want to live on that success and continue to enjoy our investment in Access Bank. And the directors must take right decision when they are deciding. Even though directors are giving their own money, like me, I am a director too. I earn my own money, but this time around, I am pleading that directors should look at all these things sincerely and make sure that shareholders are happy, because they are the providers of the seed money that we are talking about. So on that note, I want to welcome Bolaji Agbede to this hot position. And I want to say again that you are lucky you have a man by your side who will help you to cool down the tension. The Rosette I know used to be the president of one of the presidents of America. But this one is growing beards because of tension and all this and that. Well, I believe strongly that you will do, or the two of you will do the needful and make sure that you enrich the group company with good profit so that you'll be happy in paying out whatever you want to pay. Please, you will have oversubscription. That is very clear. We will support you. All the shareholders will support you. If nobody is giving the undertaking, I am giving the undertaking that I will support. Of course, I have a doyen sitting there, and there's a doyen speaking now. The difference there is that this building, I happen to be the one who built this building with Bolaji's father. So I am happy coming home to this building, you know. And the success of this building will aid the success of Access Bank to be successful. In Jesus' name.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Sanwo-Olu, it's good that you're among men who are shaved, because you find once Roosevelt keeps his own promise, like Ike has kept, then he will be shaven. Clean shaven like Ike is the chairman. So he has more promises to keep and is listening. Let's listen to Ike Imoke for a few reactions, and then we move on with the event. Thank you very much, shareholders.
I thought you say you would take me.
I think we are.
Sorry.
We are.
You mind, Chairman?
Take one more.
Just a minute. I want to take the permission of the exchange. Yes, sir. You know, you may not know this, but the issuer has to pay for this. Is our rent still current? Or?
It's okay, sir, but only one person.
Okay.
You can allow Nona. Is that Nona's voice?
Yes, I think it's Nona, yes.
Thank you for this opportunity. First, I can assure you that my questions, if any, will not be as long as the four earlier speakers, because they belong to political parties and they also learned how to speak politically, even in business environment. First, let me also say that my first major contact with Access Bank was in their efforts and attempt to acquire AfriBank. And I took time to understand all that they had intended in that meeting that eventually did not hold in Port Harcourt. But for today, I want to thank Roosevelt for talking about his organization. Because very many times when people come in here, they want to talk about things they don't even know. So I want to thank you. However, since you have also come to this community, I know that your intention is to make sure that this offer is successful because it's a right issue. By the way, 3 persons before me have promised that it will be oversubscribed. So if I don't find enough money, I will send my application form to them so that they will pay. I will be hoping that you will also give us the opportunity to be able to deliver to a lesser extent the presentation that you have made. And I'll be hoping that there'll be something that we can all take away, basically as reference. That's the first request I'll be asking. The second one, which will be much more like a question, has to do with the issue of being global and looking at the prospectus that I got because the offer had opened already. You are talking about branch expansion. And I think that you have been narrow in the way it was presented in the prospectus. You talked about Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Abuja. But your presentation speaks beyond those 3 locations. So I'll also be hoping that you give some education as to why it was deliberate that what you have in the prospectus is limited to those 2 locations. Because today's price is basically for tomorrow's benefit, when I saw the acting group MD's full name, I started asking questions. Apologies to another Bolaji that is here. Bolaji, I'm told, means that the money day before you come. Okay, when you then looked at Olaiton, he said the money no go finish. All of it again summarizes what shareholders will be expecting. Not only that the money day, what you'll be paying, again, will never finish. And it's in that regards that we're hoping that one major area that you must continually make sure that you do, because I've heard all Sonny who talked about 52 years. Unfortunately, some of us were here before he came, so I don't know how long I've stayed. Is to say you must continually engage the investing public. Because the more you do, the more you are going to get the different parts of all. Not 2, 3, 4 investors are the same. But the more you're able to aggregate those different perspectives and views, the chances are high that you'll be able to do far better than what your contemporaries can do. Even if you didn't get AfriBank, I'm sure you've gotten far more of what AfriBank will have been worth in the life of the bank. So again, I want to thank this management. But please remember, in thanking you, it means that I'm also expecting that you do far better than you have done currently. And some of us will be there to support you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adona. I will allow the chairman, Ike Bokere, to take
Thank you. But there's a man here whose hand has been up first. Nona just said that we should make sure that we continue consultations.
Yes.
And we all say yes.
Yes.
So he must talk.
You protested.
As the youngest shareholder, well, I'm going to test
Mr.
that.
Chairman, my name is Erin Folami Gafao, the youngest shareholder, as he has said. So you alluded to the fact that Access Bank is now the top 1, promise kept. And we are looking at maybe loans and advances or branch network. We should be top 1 in other metrics, other parameters like dividend payments. Like if we have a bank in Nigeria that's paying over 3 naira dividend, we should also top it off to be that top one. Thank you. Then also in your presentation, Mr. MD, you shared your vision, the vision of the bank, vision of the group, in 3 subsets that I was able to write down. You said to create a global community of ecosystem, to be Africa's gateway to the world, to be the world's first only African global bank. What are the strategies in place to walk this talk? Then, hello, I have the mic, please. So then, I want to know the percentage of the funds we are expecting that is to be distributed as follows. Number one, in our human capital skill development, then IT infrastructure to enhance our efficiency and to also enhance customer experience so that we can serve our customers faster. And also on internal control over financial report. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for...
So, so that in the interest of time, let's...
Yes, you just didn't mention what will be distributed to the youth development unit of the bank. But that's okay, they'll be taking.
Okay. Thank you very much for your questions. There are some questions that maybe I would direct to Roosevelt and Bolaji. But the theme that characterized all the questions was around this issue of share price. And I infer from that the shareholder return perspective. And the other theme was the issue of dividends. Okay. Now, I'm no longer a manager of businesses. Like you, I'm an owner of businesses. And there are certain things I look at when I am either invested in a business or I'm interested in a business to invest in. If a business is on an earnings run rate annual of the amount I put into the business once, I must eat and do you know that's access? Because if you look at the earnings profile of Access Bank, just project it, okay? And project it in Naira. Don't even assume any other, anyway, because the Roosevelt doesn't like to count devaluation profit. If there's small devaluation, the thing can double or triple. The earnings forecast, not in the, you do this analysis, is about 17 Naira a share. How much are you paying for it? 1975. 17 Naira a share annually. Now, this is not a bank that needs further reinvestment to make that money. So it's not going to be seeking additional capital, all right, that would dilute those earnings. So the reality is this, and why we did a rights issue, is that it would be so sad if you guys have gotten us so far, stayed with us through the thick and thin, through the times of investing, through the blood, sweat, and tears, okay, and then this money-making machine is about to start dropping money, and then you don't make that mistake. Don't make that mistake. Okay? Now, again in the presentation, in 2002, just before we came into Access Bank, you remember where we used to work? All of us here. We used to work in one of the most profitable banks in Nigeria, correct? It had been one of the most profitable banks in Nigeria for 10 years, runway, okay? So it had been one of Nigeria's 3 most profitable banks for 10 years. Now, Access Bank, as you well know, was not counted. So it's interesting that not only did we came 10 years after here, okay, to Access Bank, we pursued, overtake. Now we're recovering, then you don't want to, no. You have to give us, okay, thank you. Okay? And so there is a natural adjustment. And risk management also then tells us that there should be a discipline in what we do. It's not to say that we couldn't open the coffers and start, but it would actually seem strange to you. It would seem strange to an analyst. What are we doing? You have to get to the point where you consolidate, and when you consolidate, you can then begin to really, really sweat, the assets that you've created. That is the phase that Roosevelt alluded to, that we're in the phase of consolidation. And honestly, shareholders in Access Bank who are able to buy shares now, whether by way of rights or on the floor, honestly speaking, you are going to be okay. I think Roosevelt, the other...
So thank you, Ike, for that intro. So to be instructive, to just share, I don't know how much time we have to tell this story, but it's one we have to not be tired of telling. And thank you, Nona, for that stare. So let me paint a scenario. So I said we're not local champions, and I want to just give you a sense. So many years ago, many Nigerian banks, all following Soludo's consolidation and the drive for us to expand beyond our market, we all wanted to prove a point that we could do business beyond Nigeria. So we went to the UK, which is, if you wanted to prove that you've arrived as a bank, you go there. We came maybe a year or 2 years after every other bank had gone, every new generation bank. And in that market, you compete based on value. And the only reason you win is not who you know. Because who do we know? We don't know the Prime Minister, I think. Today, we're the largest African bank in the UK. Fact. We're the most profitable African bank in the UK. Now, the question is, what does it have to do with shareholders? Why is this an important conversation? All our earnings in the UK are dollarized. So it means every time there's a devaluation, our UK business continues to grow. So we've created a natural hedge. Now, let me tell you what's more interesting. We did it at the time when Naira dollar was less than 200. So we've invested in all of our African subsidiaries and our international subsidiaries today, 1.2 billion in dollar terms, which on the books is being carried at 364 billion naira. So maybe I say it again. We invested 1.2 billion in the books of the bank. The value of those assets is worth 300 plus billion. Now adjust it for real terms and understand that any bank who says today, this is the game we want to play, they'll need to spend about 1.8 billion to be able to do, 1.8 trillion, I beg your pardon, to be able to do what we use 300 plus billion to do. So when Ike is talking about a consolidation phase, the UK's projection is that by 2027, Access Bank UK will be one of the top 20 banks in the UK, generating profit of about $1 billion annually. That's a completely different story. So the consolidation phase will begin to pay. Now, when we have that money, of course, that love we have to share back with our shareholders. We can't eat the money now. And we're not planning to go to the moon yet. So that money, shareholders will get value that returns to them. I'll speak specifically in some of the comments that were...
Or is he permitted to close?
To close.
Do you want him to answer the questions? Yes. Because he has already, Mrs. Bakari said, Roosevelt, give me assurance, and then you give me...
Now we can go and have a shave. Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for the Directors Management Team of Access Holdings PLC. Let's listen to Temi Pokuola, who is the Group Managing Director and CEO of the Nigerian Exchange Group, as he presents the NGX Digital Gateway.
Thank you very much. Good evening, it should be now. Speaks to how much time we've spent. Let me welcome again everybody. Normally I would stand on the protocols that have already been established, but there are a few people that I would just really need to recognize. Of course, first and foremost, I see some of our board members across the group and some of our subsidiaries here present. But as I look at this table, the high table here, there are two people that I think symbolize quite a bit for us at the exchange. I usually tell people, of course, our business as the exchange is a B2B. We really are only as good as our intermediaries, as the people who support our business. And of course, that cuts across financial advisors to brokers to lawyers and everything. But on this table, I see Mr. Bolaji Balogun, who I just want to really acknowledge, who I would say, in a certain way, represents what is the best of that class of people. And I would speak to that shortly as we speak about the digital journey that we have gone. We have people like themselves who have invested quite a lot in this market, and really some of the things that we'll talk about as to distribution of securities now, we have them to thank, and of course the wider intermediary community. Of course, we have in our midst today past presidents. It's always instructive to recognize past presidents, but we have who I think certainly towers above in the person of Ige. I really also want to recognize and celebrate what I think is not just a contribution to the history of the exchange, but to where we are today. So where are we today? Really speaking as to the distribution of these securities that we've been speaking about. In the past maybe 3 years, we have taken a very conscious effort to accelerate what I will call the digital transformation journey that the exchange had been on. Certainly I met an exchange that had been consuming technology. I met an exchange that really had its eyes on digital. And we spent the last 3 years trying to really push the envelope of that. And for us, the mission was quite straightforward. How do we get our markets to a point facilitated by the exchange to make sure that the distribution of securities is just as simple as transferring money on your mobile phone? You would remember that historically, distribution of securities in our market has to do with taking paper forms, whether those are rights issuances or public offers. You fill those forms, you start to look for brokers and give that to them to put in the order book. That comes, of course, with all sorts of challenges, epitomized by things like e-dividend challenges and perhaps even the success of distribution. We're very pleased at the exchange, I would say, group of companies to announce, we had mentioned this over the past couple of days, that we finally are at that point. And I spoke to the history that got us there. We've had several building blocks, but at least certainly now yesterday, for the first time, at least in the history of the exchange, not just can you now consume the securities digitally, we've also built something that allows a plug-in to literally any institution that can consume technology and can consume APIs. So as we go along this journey with access with many of the other financial institutions, you would find that the ability to buy these securities is extremely easy. Wherever it is that you're consuming your financial products, you would find that opportunity there to click a few buttons and be able to invest. And that journey for us at the exchange, a big part of it also I mentioned and appreciated Mr. Ige Mokwede, who supported us through that journey. So we're looking very much forward to this process. We think that it's a new dawn, it's a new day as far as just our capital markets are concerned. Most of these securities, we hope that by the time we're done, a huge portion will be electronic. And then, of course, those who have to consume paper are probably people who are in very extreme, remote places. Before I also leave the floor, let me make a few more acknowledgements as to this journey that we have just gone through. The MD of CSCS is here, Mr. Jallo Waziri. They remain a very strong partner of the exchange. As I had said before, the CSCS remains a big heart of the work that we do and all of that heavy lifting. I see Mr. Oreagba. I'm recognizing him for perhaps maybe slightly other reasons. For those who know, they would know Mr. Farouk. But generally speaking, I think as far as the distribution of these assets are concerned, we're looking very much forward to working with the ecosystem. And I dare say that Access Bank as well has invested quite a bit in that. And once we leave this room, you would find that to be possible. On your phones right now, if you're a shareholder of Access Bank, you can go very quickly, NGX Invest, invest.ngx, that's it right there on the screen. And you sign in there, you can buy your rights right in here as we speak. In 2 minutes is sort of what the target is, less than, to sign up to actually consuming those rights. And then several of the public offers that you'd be seeing happening, several of the rights issuances that you'd be seeing happening, that is an ability to consume it. So the rest of our intermediaries, our brokers, we stand very ready to support. Many of the traditional channels for distribution remain. You can call your broker. They would facilitate that transaction for you, and then there are protocols to get those orders into the exchange platform. Like I said, I think the time is very far spent. Let me just say a very big thank you also to everyone who's here, and to say that we look very much forward to this capital issuance process with Access Bank. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Temi Pokwala, for summarizing and bringing this event to a formal close. But just before we close, let me say a very big thank you for making the time to be here. Also, despite the schedules, the current president of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, Mr. Dada, please stand up for recognition. Thank you very much. Congratulations on your recent inauguration as the president of the CIS. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Nigerian Exchange Group and Access Holdings PLC and its subsidiaries, on behalf of the chairman of the NGX and the chairman of Access Holdings PLC, I want another chairman who are also here, and I want to say a very big thank you, everyone, for being part of this event. Thank you very much, our shareholders, investors in Access Bank, and investors in Nigerian Exchange Group as a company itself. Oh, now he's looking at me. The youngest doyen in the room. Please give him an eye. You have the floor, please.
Give me the mic. Okay. Give me the mic. You need a small cola. Thank you very much. I want to greet the chairman of NGS Group, the group CEO, the CEO of ZSCS, who will warehouse all this stock we are talking here today. And I thank the chairman and the CEO of the group CEO of Exchange for providing this platform for those who will come and express themselves. The chairman of Access and his team, I thank him for coming. He said if you dig a pit and bring the mud there and you throw it back, the mud will just tell you that he has gone back to his maternal home. The Access Bank man, the chairman, is back to his maternal home. And if you are a hunter, you have gone to the bush and you don't know the name antelope, which means you are not a hunter. If you come to this exchange group and you don't know the name Ike, you know you are not a stockbroker or you are not part of the exchange. Ike, I greet you with your team. And our brother, Bolaji Balogun, you've done well. They say if a child washes his hand very clean, that he will eat with the elders. And I'm seeing Sonny Wosu and Boniface Okeze. Those two people are like one representing Asalu and the other one is representing Chief of Paloka of those days. I think we have been here for a while. It is good for the elders to be around so that the young ones will not eat the betel that is in the book that people don't eat. The establishment of this place, those who established this place, they know why they kept the doyen at the head of this table. When the chairman of Access was addressing this floor, he did not recognize the doyen. He did not. But it's here we brought him up. It is here we cooked all that is making this thing now. But, well, whoever doesn't have an ancestor, he should die to become an ancestor for others. Yes. Well, let's go to the business because there's no long speech for the evening service. Access is a good product that sells itself. Yes, he that is dancing does not see his or her back. The Access, they have been dancing and they are not seeing that they are dancing well. But today, we'll tell them that they are dancing well. If I say, come and eat, and you are washing 2 hands, me that have the food, will I bath? Well, the next this thing I will say is that Access has come to stay. Yes. Yes. A bird is taking food to his children. He reached on the way. There was obstruction, there was so many problems. He swallowed the food himself. So the food didn't get to the children. What am I saying? Yesterday, I was just it's after the head is the shoulder. I was the shoulder, I was seated here. Somebody was saying their price was underpriced. Their stock was underpriced. I was watching if Ike will say such a thing today, then I will know what to say. Because he cannot build a house and begin to use your hand to pull it down. There's a way to make price in this market. What you don't know, ask those who are there to tell you how it is done. You can't do your own and do my own. We have been here. I think some of them that are here, me, I've been here since 1988. I don't think, apart from the chairman of, group chairman of NGS and some other senior brokers, I don't think there's anybody that's senior to me, apart from Alhaji that presided yesterday. There's time to give honor to whom honor is due. Yesterday, I was seated here. When I saw Alhaji, I stood up. I came to sit down there. So respect is reciprocal. Each time we are here to make a presentation or say one or two things. Yesterday, I'm sorry I'm taking you to this. Yesterday, something happened that have never happened before since I became a broker in this market. There was a table. There was no doing. I went to the chairman, the group chairman, say, where is the doing this thing? I knew what I was talking. He quickly asked Joseph to go and bring the doyen seat. Thank God it was not me that dragged this and that sat there that yesterday. Chairman, thank you very much. Access, whether you like it or not, this year's stock will be oversubscribed. Because the assessors that are here have spoken. Yes. Whether you like it or not, your stock will be oversubscribed. And the dividend that you have been paying, small, will go up to the roof. I thank you, and I like your boldness. Each time you come around, you will do what you normally do. And the one you will never forget is that there's ancestors here. Every house has those who guide it. If somebody shot a gun now in the backyard, I say, it's not for me, it's not for my children. Who do you want the gun to shoot? So when a gun is shot, please defend it. Say, if you have a gun, carry one. Who is that? If you have a wife, you should be the one to defend your wife. If you have a house, you should be the one to defend the house. When my brother came to the market, today we never knew that he would be here as a key speaker and this thing. So if a child is coming, don't kill that child. Make the child grow, because there's always tomorrow. Access, you will continue to grow, because the elder have said so. And for the purpose of this thing, I don't think my catechism will be too long, because we have stayed too long in this place. No long speech for evening service. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my doyen. And if the evening sermon is long, then we're all compelled to sit down to listen to the preacher. Thank you so much, Adoyen. Thank you very much.
Boatson. Sorry to interrupt. My doyen, because I don't want to become an ancestor before my time.